Oh, hey, it's good to see you again. I was homesick this week and decided to revisit some films that provide some comfort. Think back to when you were feeling under the weather and what kind of movies you wanted to watch when you were home from school or work. So, The Princess Bride, directed by Rob Reiner. Like a young Fred Savage, I also had awesome grandpas. They didn't come to read me stories when I was sick, but I still am glad I had Grandpa Bob and Grandpa Sam. This movie is an adaptation of a fantasy novel by William Goldman, which I have not read, but from everything I've heard, this is a pretty good adaptation. I first saw this film in the spring of 1989. I was a first grader, and my awesome teacher wheeled in that big cart that always let kids know, oh my God, we just get to watch a movie today rather than have to learn something. And it's, not like today where kids are looking at screens all the time at school. So she wheeled in the big cart, and I didn't know what to expect. It was the first time I had ever gone to see a movie at school. I was obviously, captivated by the fantasy setting. As far as I can tell, this is the first movie I ever saw where I saw a character who had a genuine grievance against somebody else for a wrong that was done to them. And I'm speaking about Mandy Patinkin's Inigo Montoya character. And this is probably the first movie I ever saw where I felt that there was a true sense of justice. The number of times I've seen this movie, that scene never fails to just quicken the pulse and just excite. I wonder what it would have been like to see this in a theater. It probably would have been exhilarating. I remember being genuinely terrified when they lit Fezzik on fire. It just seemed like very disturbing imagery that I wasn't expecting to see at the tender age of 7 in that classroom environment. Don't worry, Miss Klein. I don't hold it against you. I thought you were wonderful. You were just an amazing teacher. This is the special edition DVD that was available on one of those end caps at Target for $9.99 for the better part of the last 20 years. Although you see less and less physical media at Target these days. I didn't know who Carrie Ellis, Robin Wright, Andre the Giant, Wallace Shawn, Christopher Guest, Billy Crystal, Carol Kane, Rob Reiner, Mandy Patinkin, or Chris Sarandon were when I was 7 and saw this movie for the first time. But just listing those names now, it's phenomenal to see how much talent was involved in this film. It would have been shocking to see if somehow this had not been a great film with that much talent involved. In 2016, the Library of Congress selected this film for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry because it's considered to be culturally, aesthetically, or historically significant. And coincidentally, in 2016, I guess you could see there's also another historical and culturally important moment in my own life is I got married, and at the ceremony, we had the officiant start off the ceremony with marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. And yeah, it just seemed right. It's almost like I had been waiting almost 30 years to have my own wedding ceremony where that's the way things could kick off. If you've watched this far, you probably have already seen this film countless times and love it. Maybe the Criterion Collection was waiting for the Library of Congress to give the film its stamp of approval because in 2018, they released this beautiful hardcover storybook version of the film, and that's the version I'll be watching tonight. Well, all right, it's time to begin and watch The Princess Bride again. We'll catch you after the credits roll, as you wish. See it again, see it again. Cinema, 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 see it again, see it again. And then talk about it. I didn't have to blow my nose because I've been sick, but because that is just such a sweet and touching ending to a film. What a perfect movie to watch when you're not feeling the best. Helps to have, pot pie, some double stuffed Oreos. There's this fear some people have when there's a movie that they were introduced to in childhood that they loved very much, an avoidance of wanting to revisit that film because they're worried somehow that the magic just isn't going to be there. Maybe we're just more callous, cynical adults, but this is a movie that the magic is intact, and I think I could rewatch it through every stage of my life and still enjoy it. It's just such a pleasurable piece of cinema. I'm a firm believer that any story that is worth a darn when you're a child is worth seeing as an adult. If it's a good story for a child, it should hold up even for adults. Maybe for different reasons, but the value should still be there. For the last number of years online, I've heard rumors and talk of them wanting to remake this film, and I just have to always roll my eyes at that, and just think, inconceivable! Why would anyone try to remake this magical film? There are just so many things that could go wrong. The fact that we haven't seen it yet, and considering how much Hollywood continues to want to recycle and remake the past, means that perhaps cooler and wiser heads have prevailed. I think instead of remaking this movie, the closest that Hollywood has come to a magical fantasy, romance, action, adventure comedy is Stardust, based on the novella by Neil Gaiman and directed by the immensely talented Matthew Vaughn. If you liked The Princess Bride and you want a remake, just watch Stardust instead, and you'll probably be, it'll scratch that itch. As much as I see that the film is about fairy tale love and romance, I think it's less about true romantic love and rather the true love of storytelling. My son is now 5 years old and is enjoying hearing me read him a chapter from a book or some Calvin and Hobbes at bedtime, and I can see that kind of magic that is similar to what Fred Savage has, as he's initially reluctant to hear the story that Peter Falk, who is just pitch perfect in this. If I had to think about one thing that stood out to me watching the movie now, and it's been over 10 years since I've seen this movie, is how economical the use of the locations and the talent. There are these characters who are maybe sometimes in just a few scenes, but they make such an impact. They're so memorable, and I just think that there's something really remarkable about that, considering how many big blockbuster movies we're seeing. They're just overstuffed. Things are just so well balanced in this. It doesn't attempt to do anything that it can't do, and everything that it attempts to do, it does extremely well. And I think that that's remarkable. So what about you? Do you have some favorite memories, moments, or stories related to this film? Perhaps a favorite line of dialogue? Let us know in the comments below. And That'll do it for this episode of See It Again Cinema, where old movies make magical new memories. Thanks for rewatching. We'll see you next time. All right. See it again, see it again. Cinema, see it again, see it again.